Okay, I've started the recording. Now we'll see about the Facebook Live. Facebook has been warmed up this morning, so hopefully that will go fine. At first, Zoom was having trouble, but now it seems we're on. Okay. I think last week we didn't get on Facebook, so I don't know what's going to happen this time. Let's try again. Just in case. Nothing much. Okay, well, we'll see. I gathered a number of things to share today. I didn't know if I was having a guest or not, so we'll do some screen share. Okay. Let's see. First things first. Slow. Speed up. Computer. Well, everyone can use this time to be centered, present, grounded. Hopefully this will give us what I had planned. I didn't really plan, but I pulled up a bunch of things that I would like to share if there were no guests today. I'm going to stop this share and start again. Okay. Because it's giving nothing. I thought for sure I could do the Facebook. Let's see, where's the Zoom there? Uh-oh. Okay. Now let's try screen share again, because I saw it finally appeared. Okay. Now let's try slideshow. Trying all these things. Oh my goodness. I do have other things besides the slideshow, but I wanted to start with that because this is episode 131, and I happen to make this slide for another purpose, but why not use it here and now? Okay, let's see. It doesn't seem like it's clicking in. So welcome to Karen Rice's Raising Happy Kids Zoom show, episode 131, The One Rule Solutions. During this 1 hour Zoom show, I focus on sharing tips and lessons on the one rule to raising happy kids. Each episode has at least one example of the one rule in action, demonstrating how it helps you raise a happy child. Then, when we have guests, we have Q&A and discussion. Okay. When I talk about raising happy kids or creating harmony with kids, I bring up the one rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. Using the one rule means you find agreement. That's the rule. You find a solution that everyone likes. You found agreement. You found harmony. Knowing and following the one rule is all you really need to create harmony between you and your kids. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, use the one rule. I learned this strategy from 3-year-old children. I was teaching them a complex conflict resolution strategy, actually intended for adults, and they taught me this. So don't think you're in for a rough time. It's simple, it's easy, it's powerful and effective. It works if you use it. I am glad you are here. Now let's see if this will give us a better situation. Okay, it's flipped over to slideshow. Let's start. The one rule keeps peace in the family for you. When I started working on today's slideshow, I thought I understood certain things, but as I worked, more was revealed. Recently, there have been questions and concerns that using the one rule might not work. I understand where these concerns come from. After all, it is such a different approach than parents are in charge. Not only that, it is so simple. How can something that simple work? It just couldn't be that simple. And since it is so simple, it must not really work. It's got to fail. It doesn't make sense. Although I really want everyone to adopt the one rule when relating to kids from birth onward, By just adding it to whatever way they parent now, I do understand the concerns, and I'm going to do my best to address them today. When I was first introduced by 3-year-old children to what I now call the one rule, I told them to help them understand what I wanted to help them do, that they were each important. Then I pointed to each of them and said, "You were important and you were important." They could agree with that. One little girl's awareness expanded to realize that they were both important. I saw it as her eyes lit up. I now realize that her eyes may have lit up because she thought of a solution. However, before thinking of the solution, she had to accept that the solution had to be something that they both liked. Until now, I believed that her eyes lit up because she expanded her thinking to accept that both of them were important. Of course, that may be true. However, it is only now that I've come to realize that whether that is true or not, by following what is now known as the one rule, she found a peaceful, harmonious solution, a solution that was enjoyable for both of them. That is true for anyone who uses the one rule. There may be more than one peaceful solution, but it has been my experience working with kids that there is always at least one agreeable solution. No one has to believe that they're important or that the other person is important. But when a solution is discovered that all involved truly like, so they can agree to it, they are acting in peace. They are peace in action. This is built into the one rule. Even if people's awareness does not expand to include the importance of the other person, as long as they are following the one rule, they find a solution that they both like or that they all like, and they agree to use that solution. The result is peace. They also get to feel good about themselves and their life. They're happy with the solution. It may not be the solution they originally thought of, but they like it anyway. That is why they agreed to it. Think about how you feel when things are going the way you want them to go. You feel good, right? Another thing I mentioned to those first two little girls was that they both deserve to have what they want, and that we were going to figure out how to do this. This is the main thing that people have trouble with. This is why people have trouble believing that the one rule works. They want something and someone else wants the same thing, like the little girls both wanted to swing on the same swing, the only swing available. Now, I don't know if this video gets into it, but besides wanting the same thing, another aspect of this is people want things that seem conflicting. And so that's part of this problem. And the one rule solves that. Whatever the situation, it seems that there is no way that both people could have what they want. They think that they have to give up on what they want or the other person does. That is the most common outcome. That is what people are used to. It's hard to realize that there is a peaceful solution. It's hard to accept a possibility that seems so uncommon. And the thing is that, as I've said a little earlier, it may not be the thing that you thought of that you want, but it's something that you like and appeals to you and pleases you, brings you good feelings, enjoyment, as much, if not more, than what you had thought of. That's what the one rule does. I just realized that When I promised, I vowed to never force my children to do what they did not want to do. I put myself in the perfect position to be open to peaceful answers. Peaceful solutions require that everyone involved agrees. This does not mean that they just say they agree, but that they fully, truly agree, because that solution is something that they like. So I've been using the one rule for at least 38 years. For most of those years, it was called the power of respect. Of course, it's longer now than when this was written. And there were 108 respect tools, skills, and strategies I used to make it work. I'm going to have some water, excuse me. That's why I know I've found a true solution, mighty enough to stand on its own. One rule. In case some of you don't know, the one rule came into being one night when I wondered if people would actually have to learn the 108 tools, skills, and strategies I'd use to create respectful relationships with kids in my life. That night I asked myself, of the 108, what is the least that people need to know to be able to raise happy kids? The one rule was my answer. And that one rule is powerful enough to create peace between parents and kids, and powerful enough to be your fail-safe in your intention to raise happy kids. The one rule is peace in action. Here are a couple of examples of how the one rule can ensure happy kids and peace between adults and kids. My youngest daughter and my 6-year-old grandson were visiting. The one rule had just taken on its name. As I was explaining the process to them, my daughter used the word agreement to explain the process in one word. I liked it. I use it. It seems appropriate that the one rule has a one-word description. My grandson liked to watch TV and YouTube video cartoons. My daughter did not really want him to do that, especially as much as he wanted to. One time, when he asked me to set up my laptop for him, I told him that I felt uncomfortable doing this because his mom did not feel good about it, and I wanted to work this out with her too. He thought about this briefly and suggested that he and I play cards. So we did. We had fun. So here, all people involved were honored, peace was maintained, everyone felt cared about. Another example is from someone I coached on the one rule. One issue she had was feeling uncomfortable always buying her 5-year-old daughter things every time they went to the store, especially when her daughter was not behaving in ways she liked. She came up with an idea that they all liked. She made a chart of behavior that she liked. Her daughter could earn money for those behaviors and buy her own things. Her daughter liked earning money, and the parents liked the behavior. Here again, all people involved were honored. Peace was maintained, and everyone felt cared about. So I hope you'll join me in the movement to help kids grow up happy and in peace. Use the one rule, become an affiliate or partner, earn 50% commission. Share this with many, many more. The affiliate and partner program are part of the Happy Kids business launch, starting now. Join us. I'm glad you're here. Okay, before we get into the next thing, I am going to let you know that I have just completed my signature course, and I am making it available. And it's going to be, I just learned this yesterday. It's going to be put out at a 90% discount. And so if you're on my mailing list, you'll be getting that invitation. And if you're not, you'll be seeing posts about it. It's amazing. I would never have thought of this, but a class I'm taking, I got this idea. And so anyway, so keep an eye out for it because uh, it is amazing. Okay, let's see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And show. Let's go on to the next one. Um, okay. This is one of the Guardian stories. This was early, episode 16. Wow. We're already to 131. Guardians Go Public. Last week we did, I'm going to skip through this because it's an earlier introduction. Well, this is a little bit different. When you follow this rule, means the one rule, you find harmony. You discover what needs to shift so that everyone involved feels good about the situation. It has never failed me when I have used it. This is what I was talking about earlier, that when people get locked in to the specific that they want, instead of that they want to feel good and have a good life and have everyone around them have a good life. So when they get locked into the specific, that's what it means, what needs to shift. Because maybe you or maybe I don't really need that exact thing right then. If we do, then there's some other shift that's going to happen in somebody else, because harmony is an option. And so that's what this means about the shift. Something needs to shift. Like maybe I need to do this, but I don't really need to do it right this minute. That can shift. Or maybe I want to do that, but really this other thing will make me even feel even better, or at least as good. And so that can shift, or the same for the other person. So that's what the shift is about. And that is a critical part of this whole thing. All right, let's see. So even though I had not isolated it and named it. It was very much a part of raising my children and working with students as a Montessori teacher in our Montessori school, as well as with students in public schools. I did that too. Okay, here, this is the second Guardian story. The Guardians were formed in the first story, and they help protect kids and make things go smoothly. The Guardians: Pam, Jenny, Lacey, Ken, Timmy, Jeff, Elaine, John, Mitch, and Mary. Guardians coach on the one rule: Kathy, Timmy's mom. The Guardians had been coming to Kathy and Timmy's every week to practice using the one rule to help them in their roles as guardians. They took turns bringing snacks so that Kathy wouldn't have to feed them all, especially since their numbers were growing. They dropped the snacks off at Timmy's and Kathy's when they picked Timmy up so they could walk with him to school. Today was Jeff and Elaine's turn to bring the snacks. Hey, Timmy, here are the snacks for the Guardians meeting after school, said Jeff, as Timmy opened the door. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Elaine, said Timmy. I'll be right out. Timmy sure wasn't afraid of Jeff anymore. In fact, they were good buddies. Jeff had been in the Guardians for a few weeks now. Ken had invited Jeff, just like in the demo that he and Lacey did that first day. Jeff discovered how good it feels to help other people. He loved helping hand out equipment at lunch. He used the one rule to make sure everyone felt good. He no longer felt like all he was good for was making trouble for other people. Now he felt proud of himself. Now he got smiles from other kids and adults at school. Everyone knew him and called out, "Hi, Jeff." Jeff invited Elaine to join the Guardians. She was Jeff's younger sister. She was actually in Timmy's class, and since they were both Guardians, they had become very good friends. At one of the weekly practice sessions, the Guardians had learned that when they saw kids who looked like they might be having trouble, they could go up to the kids and say, "Does anyone want some help?" That was Jeff's and Elaine's specialty. Then the kids would tell them what was happening, and the Guardians would use the one rule and help them solve their problem, usually in minutes, so it didn't cut into their playtime. Sometimes now, kids who were having problems would come to one of the Guardians and ask them to help them solve their problem fast. The Guardians were wondering about teaching the one rule to other kids, all the kids who were interested. Then they could solve their own problems fast. In fact, today, that was one thing they wanted to talk about before they practiced using the one rule. They knew they'd have to talk with Miss Jensen. She was the teacher sponsoring their club, the Guardians. She made sure they had approval to walk to school with kids who felt better walking with Guardians. She got school approval for the Guardians to help out during lunch and even recesses. She was also the one who came up with the idea that when they were working as Guardians, they would work with at least one Guardian partner. All the Guardians wore something that said Guardians on it, a vest, scarf, cap. They tried to decide on one type of clothing and color, but finally realized, with the help of the one rule, that the important thing, the thing they all really wanted, was that it have Guardians printed on it. "Hi, Guardians," said Kathy. "Great snacks, Jeff and Elaine. Those are from you, right? Yes, said Jeff and Elaine. I thought of bringing the fruit, said Elaine. And I carried it and added the cheese and crackers, added Jeff. I made lemonade, said Kathy. It's all laid out on the table on the porch. Let's have a snack, then we can get started. Kathy, said Pam, we want to have a meeting before we start practicing. We have at least one thing to talk about, maybe more. Sure, said Kathy. Do you want me to be part of it, or shall I have my snack inside? We want you to be part of it, said Jenny. It's about the one rule, and we learned that from you. Sure, said Kathy. Let's eat. Then we can focus on the meeting. After they were all done eating and cleaning up, thanks, said Lacey. That was a yummy snack. You're welcome. Pam, are you going to lead the meeting? Asked Kathy. What's this all about? Sure, I'll lead it, said Pam. We'd been thinking that there might be other kids who would like to know how to use the one rule. If they knew how to use it, then they won't always have to come to us to solve their problems. We've asked a few of the kids. They don't want to be guardians, but they'd like to know how to solve problems fast. Ms. Jensen said that it would be helpful if every class had at least a couple of kids who know the one rule and could help out in class sometimes. That's the first thing we want to talk about today. So what do you have in mind? Asked Kathy. Jenny had an interesting idea, said Pam. Explain your idea, Jen. Well, my mom is on the PTSA, the Parent Teacher Student Association. Sometimes she talks about the meetings. She really likes the Guardians and that I'm in the club. In it? You're one of the founding members. You came up with the name, said Pam. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, one of the things she's always talking about is fundraising. They do things to earn money for things like the sixth grade trip and other things. I was telling Pam about this, and we came up with a great idea. Let's do a fundraiser with the PTSA, teaching the one rule to anyone who wants to learn. Kids, grown-ups. Grown-ups sure need to learn the one rule, said Jeff. You got that right, Jeff, said Lacey. Hey, I have an idea, said Ken. You know how we decide on the problem and then figure out our demo and then perform the demo for everyone? What if the fundraiser came in two parts? During the day, we teach the one rule, just like Kathy taught it to us. Then in the evening, anyone who wants to can perform their demos on the stage for all their families. And the families can buy tickets and come and watch. What do you think? That sounds fun, said Pam. Would you be part of it, Kathy? I'll have to make sure I'm not working on the day of the event. I think Kathy should get part of the money that comes for the fundraiser, said Mary, one of the newest guardians. Oh, yes, that was part of the idea. The guardians are going to get some of the money too. Of course, Kathy would be paid to be the head coach on the one rule, said Jenny. Think of all she's done for us and never been paid, said Lacey. Well, being paid for coaching at this event makes all the difference. I can just arrange to take the day off. So any day works for me, said Kathy. Does anyone have any other ideas or questions about this? Asked Pam. Since no one responded, so I guess we all agree that this is a good idea. Let's decide what we need to do next, said Pam. We have to talk with Miss Jensen, said Elaine. Timmy and I can do that, right, Timmy? Sure, Elaine, said Timmy. Pam, would you come over and talk with my mom with me? Asked Jenny. We can do that today after practice, said Pam. That sounds good, said Jenny. I think we should all talk with some of the kids who've said they want to learn the one rule, said John, another of the newer guardians. We can tell them about our plan and see what they say about it. I think that's a good idea for any of us who want to do that, said Jeff. We can all report to the group next week. Oh, yeah, any of us who want to do that, said John. I'm learning about agreement. It's the best, but I'm still learning. I just had a thought, said Mary. What if kids from other schools or groups want to learn how to be guardians for the kids they are with and start their own guardians club? Great thinking, Mary, said Pam. That sounds like it could easily happen. Well, we could teach them. It would be great if Kathy could coach them. But you have to work, don't you, Kathy? I'll have to think about this, said Kathy. It sounds just like what I've been wanting since our first meeting. I'll say yes. I will be the coach, even for other groups, and maybe put on other events like the one you thought of, the one we've been talking about. This is all like a dream come true. This is a dream come true, a dream coming true. It'll work out somehow. It's too good not to. Okay, before we start our practice, let's get clear on what we're doing next. Elaine and Timmy are going to talk with Miss Jensen. Jen and I are going to talk with their mom, and anyone who wants to is going to talk with the kids who are interested in learning the one rule. Right? Asked Pam. Right, shouted the guardians. Thanks for being here. Okay. Let's see. The next thing I was going to do was finish we'll just start like this, was finish what we started last week. Let's see. I think we went through this. These were demos. And then we'll go, let's see. Okay. Because I know we didn't get all the way through. But we'll just start from here. Okay. I'll go next, said Lacey. The rest of you are in the family meeting, so I figured out one on my own. Okay, said Pam. This is the first thing I thought when I heard your situation, Mitch. This is just going to be me playing you and working things out in myself. I made some notes so I don't forget. I wish I didn't get so upset when my brother and sister tease me. I wonder why it hurts my feelings. I just remembered something. It was something new we learned at our last session with Kathy. What was it? How did it go? Oh, yeah. It's not up to other people to make my life better. It's up to me. If I want to have things go better, I need to have better self-talk. Instead of getting upset when they call me a superhero, I could ignore them, or I could say, thanks. I could actually feel good that they called me a superhero. I kind of am. I help kids every day. I help kids stay safe, and with the one rule, I help them feel good about themselves and their life. Oh, yeah. Kathy also said for us to think mostly about things that make us feel good when we think about them. I'm going to do that starting now. And when anyone says I'm a superhero, I'm going to feel glad and maybe even thank them. That's my demo, said Lacey. Awesome, Lacey, said Pam. Now we'll do the family meeting demo. I'm the mom, John is the dad, Jen, Ken, and Timmy are the kids. So, what's this family meeting thing about? Asked Dad. It's something I learned about in the Guardians. Guardians, guardians, guardians. Stop it, kids, shouted Mom. Go on, Mitch. Well, that's what this meeting is about. I'm tired of being teased for being in the Guardians. Stop that. So, what do you want to do about this? Asked Dad. I want to have a one rule session, all of us. What's a one rule session? Asked Mom. This is what I do with the kids every day. I help them find a solution that they all like. Then they agree on that solution. So, what solution would you like? I'd like them to stop teasing me. Now what? We decide if we all like that solution. If we agree that that is a solution we all like, then we agree that that is the solution we want, and then we are done. This is dumb. Enough of that. What solution would you like then? I just want to keep teasing you, superhero big shot. You're going to be in big trouble after we're done here. You always take his side. I'm always the one to get in trouble. He never gets in trouble. It's what you do that gets you in trouble, young man. Don't go blaming your brother. Let's at least see if we can find a solution we can all agree on. The kids at school do it every day. I guess I should have started by telling you what Coach Kathy told us about the one rule. We are each important. And then I point to each of you and say, you are important, and you are important, and you are important, and you are important, and I am important. I would have started with, I am important, said his brother. That's a good way to start too. Then she says that we each deserve to feel good. And now we're going to figure out a way for this to happen. Then we do. We find something that everyone likes. That's how we all get to feel good. So far, we've had two ideas, but not everyone likes the ideas. I'd stop teasing you if Dad would take me, only me, when he goes fishing. That sounds like a good idea, son. Wait, I want to do something special if I'm going to stop teasing too. I want to help you, Mom, figure out the menus for the week, and I want to help with the shopping and fixing the food. What about cleaning up and doing the dishes? You want to help with that too? Sure. Well, let's give it a try. So, you're going fishing with Dad, and you're going to help Mom with the food, and you are both going to stop teasing me about anything, right? Right, right. Mom, Dad, does all this sound good to you too? Yes, son. You've done a great job here tonight. Yes, you are really the guardian of our family. It seems like things are going to be better than ever. That's our demo, said Pam. Thanks, guys, said Mitch. You've given me great things to think about. You have really done a great job here today, said Coach Kathy. I took lots of notes. I'll do a quick review. In the last demo, you saw an example of working with your whole family and using the one rule. Now, you might understand more of why your brother and sister were teasing you. Maybe they both do want special attention from your parents. You saw how important it is to tell everyone in the beginning that they are each important and point to each one saying you're important and they each deserve to feel good and that you're going to find out how to do that. After that was done, everything shifted and the family found a solution fast. So working with your whole family is an option. Or you could just figure it out in your own mind like Lacey did. That's just as useful. Finding and maintaining your own feel-good space inside, thinking the thoughts that help you do that. Maybe you could take a look at her notes if that would help you. Or you could talk with your brother like the demo with Jeff and Elaine. There might be something you can work out with him that could solve the whole situation. So, Mitch, how do you feel now? I don't feel so lost, and I sure don't feel embarrassed, said Mitch. I know there are many ways I could solve this. I feel more hopeful. You know that if you need one of us to help you, just ask, said Pam. Thanks, all of you, said Mitch. You've been a lot of help. I'm sure that by our next meeting, this will be fixed. Sounds good, Mitch, said Pam. Is that it, Kathy? Does anyone have anything else? I'm done, said Kathy. I just want to say you all did a great job. You are great guardians. I'm proud to have you on my team. We'll meet again next week, said Pam. Have a great week, guardians and Coach Kathy. Thanks for being here. Okay. We have one more. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Um, okay, I don't know if we'll have time to finish this, but we'll see how far we get. This is another guardian story. It's the last one so far. When creating harmony is up to you. Now I'm going to skip through this because we've been through that. In today's slideshow, we explore a situation where creating harmony is up to you because the other person is too young to be able to participate. Oh, I want to say something before the end, okay? um, if you followed me for a while and you do like my work, you really might want to look into becoming an affiliate. Um, there are a few already, and we're going to start having weekly calls and connecting on the Facebook group, um, and getting this out there, uh, sharing with a lot of people to help create peace and harmony for all of us. Okay. And I didn't know if I'd have time at the end to say that, so I'm going to say it. That's why I said it now. Okay, in today's slideshow, we explore a situation where creating harmony is up to you because the other person is too young to be able to participate. Jenny and Pam were walking Timmy home as usual. You're right, Jen, said Pam. I'll bet Kathy can help me with this. I've just been dreading it. I totally forgot what Kathy said about how we can use the one rule with 2-year-olds, but that it is different than what we do with older kids. Okay, I need some water. Remember, we can use it with grumpy adults too, laughed Jenny. It works really well with grumpy adults, said Timmy. We have a neighbor who used to be grumpy. I've been using the one rule for 2-year-olds with him when I have to talk with him. Now he isn't mean. Sometimes he doesn't say anything, but at least he isn't mean. See, Pam, said Jenny, I'm sure Kathy can help you. Yeah, I'm sure she can. But Dean is a real terrible too. No one can stand to be around him. I got volunteered to take care of him while my cousin is visiting. You got volunteered. Don't you use the one rule at home? Asked Jenny. We usually do, but this was a kind of a family emergency. They couldn't reach me to ask me about it. Mom said that with all my experience with the guardians, she was sure I'd agree and do a good job. Would you agree? Asked Jenny. I guess. My cousin really needs the help, and I'm the best one to do it. I was letting this get to me. I'm glad you reminded me about talking with Kathy. Maybe that's why this is happening, so I can learn about taking care of 2-year-olds using the one rule. I just hope it works. Then I could get really good paying jobs babysitting 2-year-olds when I'm a little older. If this works, it could be my specialty. Now that's the way to think, Pam, said Jenny. This could turn out great. My mom should be home if you want to talk with her, said Timmy. I may as well, said Pam. The sooner I feel good about this, or at least better, the more I'll like it. As they got to Timmy's house, Mom, shouted Timmy. Pam needs to talk with you. Kathy came out on the porch. Hi, girls. Come give me a hug, Timmy. Tell me what's happening. Timmy ran up the stairs to hug his mom. Pam has to babysit a terrible two, and she really needs some help. What's this all about? Pam asked Kathy. Kathy had become the coach of the Guardians right from the beginning when Pam and Jenny first walked Timmy home. She taught them the one rule and did weekly sessions with them where they practiced using the one rule. Do you have some time to coach me, Kathy? Asked Pam. Yes, said Kathy. Let's have a snack first. I was just fixing something for Timmy and me. Are you girls hungry? Yes, the girls exclaimed. As they ate, Pam explained what had happened in her family and that Jen had suggested that Kathy could help her. I'm sure we can figure out a good plan for you, Pam, said Kathy. I'll tell you what I've learned about interacting with 2-year-olds. Yeah, that's what I was remembering you said about working with grumpy adults, said Jenny. That's right, and that sure works, said Timmy. Timmy had become so confident during his time with the Guardians. Okay, let's get started, said Kathy. I'm going to tell you what you have to do differently with 2-year-olds or grumpy adults when it comes to the one rule. I'm also going to tell you why the terrible twos develop and how to avoid them. Sound good? Sure, anything that helps, said Pam. Soon after a child is through the terrible twos, you won't have to do this. But for 2-year-olds and really anyone younger, like toddlers and babies, you have to be the one to find the harmony. They cannot participate any more than they already are. They're already in harmony with their developmental blueprint, and that takes all of their attention. What is that, their developmental blueprint? Asked Pam. That's what is built into all of us so that we figure out how to move our bodies, like walking. We learn the language where we're born. We learn so much to help us in our lives, to help us live our lives. And we all learn these things at about the same time and in the same order. That's how we know about the developmental blueprint. I'll tell you briefly what we know about 2-year-olds and their development and why it seems that they are difficult or even terrible. 2-year-olds are developing their willpower. They're making themselves into people who know what they want, who know how to get what they want, and who are determined to keep going until they get what they want. That's what makes this so difficult for those around them. What makes this so difficult for those around them is when they are determined to do and have things that other people do not want them to do or have. That sure sounds like Dean, said Pam. I'm not surprised, said Kathy, because of what you have said about him. To be able to work with him, you have to pay attention to him. Okay, folks, this is the end of the show. I wish you all a great week and have a good time following the one rule. Use it in your life with kids and wherever else you like. Go to my website, www.happykidsco.org. Go to the org site and check out becoming an affiliate. And keep an eye out for this amazing deal that's going to be coming out today for the signature course. It's fast and easy. So you'll see. Okay. Wish you well. Bye.